All right, so anyone who's been following academia knows things are changing fast, right? Like the whole landscape of what it means to have a career in academia, especially in Europe. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive. We wanted to
Oh,
get into the nitty gritty and see what's actually going on.
yeah, it's not just like a little shift either, right? It's like a whole earthquake.
Exactly. So we've been poring over this chapter from academic work and careers in Europe.
Really interesting book.
Yeah. It's called Chapter 3, and it's by Kwiek and Antonowicz. And they're talking about milestones in European academic careers. But the thing is,
They're changing.
they're not your grandpa's milestones anymore.
Nope, not at all.
So we're talking like cutthroat competition out there. We're talking the importance of mentors. The whole tenure versus fixed term contract debate is raging. And then on top of all of that, mission overload.
Oh, don't even get me started on mission overload. Being a professor these days, it's like you have to be a researcher, a teacher, a fundraiser, an
As
entrepreneur.
a social media influencer.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Like you're wearing a dozen different hats.
It's wild. So where do we even begin with all of this? I mean, one of the things that really jumped out at me from the chapter was just how much more competitive academia has become. It's like you're competing at every stage now, from the moment you apply to a doctoral program to when you're like a senior professor trying to get that grant. It's relentless.
Oh, absolutely. It's a constant pressure cooker. And it wasn't always this way.
Right, that's what I was thinking. It used to be so different. Like I imagine these brilliant minds, kind of guiding a few select students in this like apprenticeship type of model.
You're talking about that traditional mentorship model.
Yeah.
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 It was much less formalized. Back then, it was less about metrics and more about just nurturing potential.
Right, like finding those diamonds in the rough. But now with this insane competition, it seems like mentorship is even more important. Like it can actually make or break your career.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Having the right mentor in this environment, it's crucial, especially when you're trying to make that jump from doctoral studies to actually getting a job.
Yeah.
That transition can be so daunting. And having someone in your corner who can advocate for you, open doors, introduce you to the right people.
It's like you need a champion.
Yeah. You need someone to discover you. The authors actually use that word discover. They talk about academics being discovered and invited to work with leading professors. It's almost like a talent scout for brilliant minds.
So it's not enough to just be brilliant. You need someone to recognize that brilliance.
It seems that way. And they actually have this quote that I think really sums it up. They say, "The cornerstone of the academic career is to be discovered by and to be invited to work with the right academic."
Wow, that's pretty powerful. It makes you wonder how much of academic success is really about chance and opportunity, like being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right person.
It's a huge factor for sure. And it's something to keep in mind as we dig deeper into these changes that are happening in academia. Because even with a great mentor landing a secure academic job these days, it's becoming more and more challenging.
You're talking about the tenure track, or what's rapidly becoming the tenure tightrope.
Exactly. The chapter talks about this rise of fixed-term, project-based positions in European universities. And it's causing a lot of anxiety, especially for junior faculty. It's like they're walking this tightrope without a safety net. Tenure, that dream of job security, it's becoming more and more elusive.
That is a scary thought. What happens to those who don't make it onto the tenure track?
Well, there's this quote from an academic in the book that really stuck with me. They said, "At the university, there is a two-class system of those who are on permanent positions and those who know they have to leave the university eventually."
Wow, it's like a caste system in academia.
In a way, yeah. And this whole situation, it's not just an academic problem either. This is reflecting a larger trend that we're seeing across many fields. Job security is declining. We're moving towards more contingent employment. It's a global shift.
Yeah, it's like the gig economy has come to academia. And that instability, I can only imagine how that's feeding into the whole mission overload problem.
Oh, absolutely. Universities, they're expected to be everything to everyone these days. Teaching research, economic development, innovation, responding to regional needs. The list goes on and
Well,
on.
it's like they're trying to be all things to all people.
Exactly. And for academics, that translates to even more pressure. They have to publish secure funding, engage with external stakeholders, teach, and they have to do all of this while navigating these increasingly precarious employment conditions.
So it's not enough to be a brilliant researcher anymore. You have to be a master juggler, too.
It's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
And it really raises the question of whether academics are being spread too thin. Can they really excel in all of these areas?
Yeah. And what happens to those who maybe just want to focus on research? Are they being left behind in this new model?
Yeah, I mean, there's this quote from the chapter that really gets at this tension. One academic says, sometimes it feels like measuring these academic activities has become more important than activities themselves.
Wow, it's like the metrics have taken over.
And that leads us to this really important question.
Mm.
What does the future hold for European academia and for academia in general?
It's like we're at a crossroads. The old model is crumbling, and we're not quite sure what's going to replace it.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to explore further in this deep dive.
So stay tuned because we're just getting started. It's a lot to think about, right? Like all these competing demands and pressures. And it makes you wonder, how does the European model compare to like the American system?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. The authors actually talk about this. They point out how the American model, with its emphasis on individual achievement, competition, and constant evaluation, is having a growing influence on European higher education.
But is that a good thing? Like, are European academics embracing this Americanization, or is there some pushback?
Oh, there's definitely pushback. Some European academics are worried about the potential downsides of this model. Things like increased pressure, more instability, and this narrowing of focus on just research output.
So are we heading for like a clash of academic cultures?
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
And it raises this question of, is there a way to balance the best aspects of both systems? Or is this like a one-size-fits-all approach that just doesn't work in the European context?
So many questions and so few answers. It's kind of overwhelming. But you know what else struck me as we were reading this chapter?
Like that.
The authors talk about this idea of the third mission of universities. I'm curious what they mean by that.
Oh, yeah, the third mission.
Mm-hmm.
So traditionally, universities have focused on teaching and research,
Mm.
right? Like those are their two main pillars.
Mm.
But now there's this growing expectation that universities should also be actively engaging with society.
Engaging with society in what way?
So it's about things like contributing to economic development, translating research into real-world applications, addressing regional needs. It's about making a tangible impact on the world beyond the ivory tower.
So it's not enough to just be a brilliant researcher anymore. You have to be a public intellectual, an entrepreneur, a problem solver.
Exactly. And that requires a whole new set of skills and ways of thinking. It makes you wonder if some academics are being left behind in this new model. Those who are maybe more comfortable with just pure research. Are they being squeezed out?
It's almost like we're seeing different types of academics emerge in this new environment, like those who are really adept at navigating this new landscape and those who are struggling to adapt.
It's a fascinating evolution to observe. And it raises some important questions about what it means to be a successful academic in the 21st century. Are we measuring success by publications alone, or are we also factoring in these broader contributions to society?
Okay, so we've got this shift toward more applied research, this emphasis on engagement with society. But isn't there a risk that we lose sight of the value of fundamental research? The kind of research that might not have immediate practical applications, but could lead to groundbreaking discoveries down the line.
That's a really important point, and it's something that academics are debating right now.
Yeah.
How do we strike a balance between these different types of research? How do we make sure that we're not sacrificing long-term intellectual exploration for short-term gains?
It's a tough question, and I think it also ties into this whole discussion about the Americanization of European academia. The American system has always been very focused on practical applications and measurable outcomes. So as European universities adopt some of these American principles, are they inadvertently de-emphasizing fundamental research?
It's definitely a risk.
Yeah.
And it's something that we need to be mindful of as we navigate these changes in the academic landscape.
This is all feeling very complex. Like we're at a crossroads with so many big questions and no easy answers.
You're absolutely right. But that's what makes this topic so fascinating and so important. It's forcing us to rethink the role of universities in society and to imagine what the future of knowledge creation will look like.
And speaking of imagining the future, let's talk about the academics themselves. Like, I've been hearing all this talk about intense competition, mission overload, precarious employment. It all sounds incredibly stressful. What's happening to work-life balance in academia?
Yeah, work-life balance, it's a constant struggle for academics. The chapter actually talks about this a lot. They highlight how academics are feeling this immense pressure to publish, secure funding, teach, serve on committees, engage with the public. And then on top of all that, they're supposed to have a personal life too.
It's like the expectation is that you're always on.
Exactly. And it raises this really important question. Is it even sustainable? Can you really excel in all of these areas without burning out?
So what's the solution?
Well, the chapter does offer some glimmers of hope. They talk about academics who are finding ways to prioritize and set boundaries, even in this very demanding environment.
What does that look like in practice?
It's about being strategic. It might mean saying no to certain committees or collaborations that don't align with your core goals. Or it might mean stepping back from certain research projects to really focus on the areas where you can make the biggest impact. It's about recognizing that you can't do it all and making conscious choices about where to invest your time and energy.
So it's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And it also requires a shift in mindset, both for individual academics and for the institutions themselves. Like if universities are going to expect so much from their faculty, they also need to provide the support and resources to make it sustainable.
So it's not just about changing the rules of the game, it's about changing the culture of academia itself.
Exactly, and that's a much bigger challenge.
The better.
It's a challenge that we need to address if we want to create a more sustainable and equitable future for academia.
So to recap, we've got this intense competition, this shift toward more applied research, this emphasis on engagement with society, this pressure to be always on. And then we have this backdrop of increasing precarity in academic employment. It's a lot to process.
It is. But I think it's important to remember that amid all of these challenges, there's also a lot of exciting innovation happening in academia.
Right. Like there's this new generation of scholars who are bringing fresh perspectives and new ideas to the table.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to challenge the status quo, and they're finding creative ways to make a difference in the world.
Exactly. And that's what gives me hope for the future of academia.
So I think we've given our listener a lot to think about. We've explored the changing landscape of academic careers in Europe. We've talked about the impact of global trends, and we've pondered some pretty big questions about the future of knowledge creation.
It's been a really stimulating conversation.
And I think it's a conversation that needs to continue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to keep asking these tough questions and keep pushing for change. Because the future of academia is being shaped right now.
And we all have a role to play in shaping that future. It really is a lot. And for anyone out there thinking about going into academia, I mean, it sounds like they need to be prepared for a wild ride.
Oh, absolutely. Resilience is key. You have to be adaptable and open to new ways of thinking about your work. It's not the kind of career for people who like things to be predictable and stable.
But it can be incredibly rewarding, right? Like for those people who are truly passionate about knowledge creation and driven to make a difference.
Absolutely. There's nothing quite like it. You know, it's about finding your niche, identifying your strengths, and focusing on areas where you can really excel.
Yeah.
And it's also about being willing to challenge the status quo, like to advocate for changes that will make academia a more sustainable and equitable profession.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listeners, whether they're academics themselves or just people who are fascinated by the future of higher education?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the traditional model of the academic career, it's changing, and it's changing fast. Like the old certainties are gone. We're entering a new era of competition, uncertainty, and increased demands.
So buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up. But also remember this. The future of academia isn't predetermined. It's being shaped right now by the choices that academics and institutions make.
That's a really empowering thought. We're not just passive observers. We can actually be active participants in shaping the future of knowledge creation.
Exactly. And that's what makes this such an exciting time to be involved in academia.
Well, I have to say this has been an incredible deep dive. So much food for thought. We've explored the changing landscape of academic careers in Europe, the impact of global trends, the challenges of mission overload, the importance of mentorship, the tension between fundamental and applied research. And we've really grappled with some big questions about the future of knowledge creation.
It's been a pleasure exploring all these ideas with you.
And a huge thank you to you, our listener, for joining us on this intellectual journey. We hope you found it informative, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little inspiring.
Inspiring to ask questions, to challenge assumptions, to think differently about the role of universities in society, and ultimately to contribute to shaping a more vibrant and equitable future for academia.
Until next time, happy diving.